Hello. So, I'm Reluctant Artsy. This is my channel. I'm going to try to be brief. So, I will give a preamble because that's what I do. So, over the past 6 months, I've been really interested in Japanese culture. I've been watching some historical stuff, the cartoon ones by Lymphemy and the Shogunate. Brilliant YouTube videos, and informative, hugely informative. I've been watching a lot of walking tours of Tokyo, and my wife just loves that stuff too, so that's nice. And it's very peaceful and calming. And lastly, kind of Chris Broad and Joey and Charla and a bunch of people from Tokyo Connections, Tokyo Collective. I forget exactly what they call their kind of group, but Abroad in Japan is a very huge site. And he does a lot of kind of funny stuff and has done tours of Japan and just kind of helped with that cultural referencing stuff, at least current. So I've been watching the past and the history and the mythos, and Lymphemy is great on looking at Pokemon and how and the connections between the mythos and Pokemon, which I never really got. So that's a great video to watch. And no, I won't link it down below. Just go and look it up. So I'm just about to record something. I've got all these resources. I've got too many resources. I don't know if you suffer from this GM kind of paralysis that I get myself into, where I just consume as many resources, and then I consume as many PDFs or books if I feel that the PDF is worth it, um, of kind of systems to look toward. And I forgot that I had printed something off a while back for Ironsworn. And so I was looking for Ironsworn, but I was looking for something else. And then all of a sudden, on almost the day that I was going to record, I got an email from Eric Bright on his Ironsmith flavor packs. And I've got to tell you that I was so impressed when I saw this document. It's 60 odd pages, 61. It's absolutely fantastic. And I can't encourage you enough to go out and buy this. I know that Starforged is just on its heels to go to Kickstarter. And now, of course, with my ADHD, I'm like, zoom right off into space. But before I launched, I wanted to talk about this because I'd like to do something online with a Japanese theme. And this, I think, is what I'm going to turn to. I'm very familiar with the Ironsworn system. And I just think that what Eric has produced, if you're interested in playing a Japanese themed game, you've got to get these assets. You've got to get this publication and support his work, because I think this summer he's planning on coming out with a book, maybe the fall, who knows, with timing. But just great. He's got African mythology, he's got South American mythology, he's got Norse mythology, and of course this Japanese one. So let's take a look and go through this. So if all goes well, this should work, and you should still hear me, and everything is fine. So here's the PDF, and I just got super duper excited about this. See, I am in my 50s, even though people say I don't look it, because I used super duper. All right, so Ironsmith Flavor Packs, a fan-made supplement for the Ironsworn RPG system and the information. So this is not that old. This was, I think released maybe a week and a half ago, something like that. So as you can see by the table of contents, we cover all the regions that are specific to Ironsworn, and he's just reskinned them. The assets, I think the assets are great. Again, Can't say enough about them. He's got combat talents here, companions, paths, and rituals, and a nice assortment. He hasn't kind of gone and said, "Okay, I'm gonna throw at you tons of resources." He just gives us enough to kind of flavor what you already have in in the sources provided by Sean Tompkin. So you've got new foes, you've got 3 new animals, a couple of beasts, and then you've got a large section of, wait, well, I consider it a large section of firstborn. So you've got Kappa, Katsune, Kodama, and a number of different kind of firstborn. And then you've got the horrors, and then you've got the Firelanders. So the Firelanders being the people of the region. And so you can really flesh out an entire gaming system. So let's just take a kind of a quick little tour of these things. So just before, you'll see here the regions. So you have the 9 regions of kind of a typical Ironsworn map. If you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with Ironsworn. And if you're not, Google, right? So, and I think that it's really cute because you've got tiny, each of the island or each of the regions have their own particular name that's, I feel, is very flavorful. It just enhances. It's kind of like having a little bit of wasabi or a little bit of ginger with your sushi. It just complements it. So tiny fires for the barrier islands. The ragged coast becomes the obsidian blades. Very evocative of Japanese culture. Ghostly swamps, Cherry Valley, the river of ash, the slumbering hills. When I was in university at McGill, I studied Japanese religion and the mythos and Shinto. And I don't think oh, I do. Oh my, look at that. This was not prepared. But here was my textbook. And I had Professor Hori, who was absolutely wonderful. And it was great. It was 36 bucks. Look at that, 36 bucks. Anyway, back then that was expensive. So I had to write Ranga, which is kind of like haiku, but a long poem. And when you're doing that, of course, you're thinking about the culture, and you're thinking about the way that they express themselves as a cultural kind of reference and a cultural way of expressing things. And so when I look at the Forest of Madness and the Ghostly Swamps and the Cherry Valley, it's just, to me, again, I say evocative of the culture. So here we have the tiny fires. I like how he's used the hiragana in a stylized font, which I think is, again, my channel says I'm reluctant. That's why you don't see a lot of videos that are consistent. I'm an artsy. I love art, so I love this script, and I guess I love the aesthetics of things. So I love the way things look. So this just looks great. So he talks about the features to give us, as either solo role players or a GM, just some quick kind of helps, and then he describes it, and also gives a quest or a possibility of a quest. Again, very helpful, very clear, and I love how he's adapted Sean's Photoshop technique and done this black and white. So you'll see, again, lots of wonderful images, and he's also used here kanji. So again, just little kind of nuances to the publication. Is it colorful and spectacular or anything? No, but neither was Ironsworn. And I think that Ironsworn is one of the most amazing systems out there, especially for solo role players. And so this, again, helps us so that we don't have to spend tons and tons of time going through, okay, well, what would the hinterlands look like? All right, so this river of ash. So he speaks about the thick gray grasses reaching over your head, which, again, there's just, that kind of visual help. Sparse, spindly, isolated, no line of sight over the grasses, sinkholes, to lava tubes, which again kind of ties in with that Japanese reality of living with so many volcanoes and instability. So, and then the quest. A particularly large Byaku tiger began to harass a small settlement. When you arrived at the settlement, you find only children. So the adults are been gone a couple of days. Do you leave the children? And then what do you do? How do you deal with this? So if you want something quick and easy and set, and you don't want to spend the time kind of figuring out the world or anything like that, and you just want to get started, very, very simple. Let's skip ahead to the assets. So you'll see here, he speaks of the assets and the combat talents. He talks about how you can change the Ironsworn assets that have been published and maybe rename them so that they make more sense. So you use a tanto instead of a dagger. You use a bow staff instead of a spear, or that long arm. And so just again, very attentive to the detail, I think is what I'm looking for. So here's the Hokkaido asset. You'll see that when you face danger, you add the edge by evading an attack without fighting back and score a weak hit. Inflict 1 harm. On a strong hit, inflict 2 harm instead. This does not represent physical damage, but fatigue or frustration on the foe's part as they struggle to engage in combat with you. And then, of course, you have two other options. So same as above, but add +1 and take 1 momentum. Or the last, which is when you attempt to end the fight without having use strike or clash in battle, subtract 1 from each challenge dice. So again, I think that that's just nice to have. It's a good detail. It's a good way of looking at things. I think that it's a good asset to have, and it doesn't, in my idea, step on the toes of other assets that are out there that are already established. And he goes into the background of this, which is something, of course, that we didn't have when I just had the cards, and probably that's one of the reasons why I forgot about printing off the cards, which I had done months ago. Because I didn't have kind of it fleshed out. I just had a pack of cards, and I had all the details on the cards, but I didn't have kind of a backstory and understanding of each card. So here with the new assets, you see that one, and you'll see that there are paths, and let's just open this up so that you can see some of them. So I think Katana Master is something that a lot of people will be interested in. You're wielding a katana. When you score a strong hit on a strike, you may cede the initiative. If you do, add +2 to your next move. So kind of that give and take, the strategy of the samurai, as it were, or your hero. So you give up initiative, but you're going to get +2 on your next move. So there's a give and take. I like that. I like that in Ironsworn in general. So again, and each asset, again, has a quest associated with it, which I think, again, just aids us. When you look at companions, here you have Kaien Tori, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Your young phoenix is determined. If your phoenix misses on companion, endure harm when at 0 health. Roll +heart, and then it just goes on. Again, the ho'o or phoenix, the flames, tying in with the Flamelands, right? So good resources, you've got paths like Bushido, so you've got a path. So when you compel or secure an advantage by telling a hard truth with compassion, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. On a weak hit, envision how you're. So again, honor tied in with heart. This is not a strength based thing. And if you're used to L5R, this will make perfect sense to you. Uh, Again, just fitting in wonderfully with the whole theme um, of kind of 16th, early 17th century Japan, and maybe leading into the Edo period. It's great stuff. Rituals. Just a quick. Oh well, let's look at ninjutsu. So here, when you gather information within an enemy area to discover their positions, plans, or methods, like a sneaky guy would, right? Um, or when you secure an advantage through observation, you roll plus shadow instead of wits. I don't know, shadow always seems to be my dump stat in Ironsworn. If you do, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. I like it. I like that a lot. I like when you face danger by disguising yourself, hiding in the shadows, or vanishing without a trace at +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. So again, it's just more of entrenching that ninja ideas that we have in our head and putting it down into a system and into a rubric, as geek gamers would say. When your character challenge changes by learning from a mistake, and then you fulfill your vow, either add +2 or take +1 experience on a hit. I like that too. That's very flavorful. Learning from your mistake. Very Bushido as well. So, rituals. Here's the first ritual that we have. Ritual magic and mysticism in the Firelands is very much about the ceremony. Performing a ritual is as much about performance as it is about purpose. It is widely believed that the kami empower rituals and that if the specific details of a ritual are not followed precisely, the kami will bring about a more mischievous or even disastrous effect. And that's just that's just solid. So, new foes. Let's go down to new foes. You've got a number of choices. You've got 3 animals. You've got a couple of beasts. You have what looks like 6 firstborn, 6 horrors, and 5 firelanders. So we'll just look at one. I think with the animals, we'll look at the Kamaitashi. Kamaitashi? Okay. So, one of the first creatures we noticed was the Kamaitashi, an unusual weasel with bony blades instead of paws. These creatures run circles around their prey, slashing as they go. The blades have a secretion on them and act as a numbing or paralyzing agent. Great for a solo player to look at that and kind of come up with ideas of how that impacts you, or a GM with a group. Awesome stuff. And again, it talks about the features. You've got a rank that you could use. It's troublesome, so maybe if you really want to make it worse, you could put it up to dangerous. But uh, it gives you the details right away. It talks about the features so that you understand what they've got. You understand their drives. Okay, they're attacking males of other species. They forage for food and they defend their territories, and these are their tactics. So focused, clear. Erica's done a great job. I like this a lot. Um, the Nore Ona, dangerous. It's a giant snake with the girth of a human, female human-like face, and arm-like appendages. Feast on human flesh, defends its territories, suns on giant rocks. Of course they do. Why would they not? And again, just really nice stuff. I think we'll go to Katsune, because I think that that's something that a lot of kind of uh, anime influenced people would be looking toward. And so again, fox-like kitsune, up to nine tails, and of course, I think each tail represents a century. So you might want to start off with one or two, and you may, if you want it to be a young kitsune, you may not give it. Well, I would not. I would give a nine-tailed kitsune epic status. At least I would. And I'd probably do a one-tailed kitsune as, uh, you know, just kind of easygoing, and I might downgrade it a bit. Um, again, it's your prerogative, but these are suggestions, and again, it comes with a quest. Talks about your truth. Do the kitsune grow more tails as they age? The gain magical powers. Why is it nine to the maximum? What does well? You can kind of look that up and figure that out. There's an oni, no images, and I don't mind that. I think that making it image light isn't a bad thing in this case. You know how to Google. You know how to look these things up. This is not the problem would be if you were faced with an Oni and you didn't have the features, you didn't have the drives, you didn't have the tactics. Giving that, Erica said to you, okay, here's your Oni. You want to play an or you want to face an Oni, go for it. And I'm going to give you a card. And I don't know if I have the cards right close. I do, but they just help because they're right there. You've got them on a card, and you can say, "All right, now I know what I'm going to do with this stuff." Horrors and all that stuff. I mean, that's pretty basic. Let's go to the Firelanders. So these are the inhabitants of the area, and of course, with samurai, you know that it's a trained warrior. You know that they're going to be a weapon expert. They are honorable and loyal, and they follow their daimyo's orders. And of course, these are their tactics: draw the circle, blades of strongest iron, never run from a battle because of the honor and the bushido that's part of their their way of life. And then let's just look here. So we've got the Yoki Mageru, and so you've got Ice and Snow Ritualist, adept at reading weather, immune to cold, respect the power of nature. I'm thinking to myself about the Chinese kind of 70s shows, and the great kind of magicians with their big long white beards, and they're actually kind of masters of kung fu or jujitsu or whatever you want to look to, and that's what I'm thinking with these ice kind of guys and gals. Uh, Encase you in a block of ice, induce hypothermia, drive back foes with blizzard winds, and then retreat. I just love that. So again, Eric's done a great job. I'm really happy about that. New locations. So here we go. We've got oracles. Who doesn't like tables? A table just helps you get right into it and just play. So, just got a wide range of stuff. I'm not going to read it to you. You can see it on the screen. Coastal locations. Again, you just roll. You come up with something, and even if you don't want to roll and you just want to pick something, it's giving you an idea that you can kind of launch out of and say, okay, now I know what I need to do. And then he goes down to the regions. Just if you want to roll on a region and say, hey, I'm gonna do this today in my little game. And of course, you've got this. So you've got a quick name generator. And I like this for the settlements. It helped me actually understand a bit more about the way, and I wish that there were more settlement name generators for Oriental cultures or East Asian cultures, and South Asian cultures for that matter. I really like the way that this kind of gives us, spirit garden, okay, and gives you what the name would be, so that it really helps you once again immerse yourself into the culture and into the system. And I think, again, as I've said repeatedly, Eric has done a great job on this. The names, that's great. I mean, you could use something online, but it's there, so why not? And then he's done this little thing about pronunciation. So you've got uh, ah for water, e for the I, oo for the u, a for the e, which is always, I think, for us, kind of one of those confusing things that it's a, uh, and then o for rote. So a, e, u, a, o. Yay! There we go. You learned some Japanese stuff. So I'm not sure why this pronunciation stuff is in there. I guess that it helps when you're looking. I, you know, is it necessary? Probably not. But is it helpful? Absolutely. If you're at all insecure about pronouncing Katsune or whatever, you know, um, there you've got it. You know how. So without googling up. So let's go back to the front view here. Sorry, I've got an itchy nose this morning. I I love people who are working on assets. Um, I sink my time into a lot of different areas, and I would love to be able to just sit at the computer and type away and create more and more resources that maybe I've gleaned, and and that would be great to make tables and stuff. I don't have the time, and I am susceptible of getting overwhelmed with resources. And as I've said, maybe you're the same way. I don't know. But this helps. And anything that's going to promote the game of Ironsworn and help us engage with it a bit more, give us more resources, is also going to um, give more visibility to Ironsworn and of a system that I think is really worthy of being up there with what I would consider some of the great and notable systems. Uh, you've got Powered by the Apocalypse. You've got obviously D&D and the 3D6 kind of system. They call it a D20 system, but really, to me, it's the stats and the rolling, the 3 to 18, and that kind of system. Obviously, coming out of that would be Pathfinder and the myriad of clones, even OSR stuff. Um, Ironsworn fits a niche, and I don't think that it should just be thrown into the narrative niche alone. Um, no, it's not super crunchy. You don't have all of your weapons with each individual stat. So no, if you're looking for super crunch, there are lots of systems out there for you, and a lot of them are just great. Monty Cook does great stuff with lots of crunch, and there are a number of other people who just give you great things. L5R. Think of all the books from A Legend of the Five Rings. Tons and tons of resources. But I've gotten to the point in my life, and that's my life, not yours, that even though I've got all of these resources, I'm much happier with smaller resources. So Morkborg, right there. I've got two copies. One's still in shrink, actually. I might keep it in shrink. It's probably going to be valuable. But that system, I think, is a great system, though it's super light. I think that it's notable. Is it one that's going to be on the top all greats? Probably not, but it's a nice niche. I do think that the stuff that Freely Games is publishing, and I haven't bought Forbidden Lands yet, but I will. What they're producing is absolutely spectacular. I think that Ironsworn deserves to be up there with Freely Games and with other massive kind of publications. And so I will be doing something on Starforged relatively soon. I'm equally excited, maybe even more excited, though I think that my heart is more in this Japanese stuff than it is in, say, the skies and the stars. But who knows? I may be able to incorporate some of that over. Anyway, I guess a half an hour is kind of brief for me. So here you go. I hope you enjoy this. Eric, if you've watched this, thank you so much for working on this and for continuing to work on it as you develop the African mythos and the South American mythos and the North mythos to kind of help us. Support him on Drive Through RPG. Buy the stuff that he produces. He's got a lot of other stuff which is equally as great. And I don't have it readily available, but I know that he's got a lot of assets and he has um, a lot more. I think he has sites. I'm not too sure, but I believe so. And just go and look him up. Get this and then start clicking around and you'll find his other works. I know that he has a emulator. So for what it's worth, support the smaller people who are publishing on either the DM's Guild or RPG Drive Through RPG. The smaller publishers are doing great things for some of the publications. So take care, have a great day, and hopefully I'll put something up soon. Bye.